Hello everyone, welcome back to another bonus Thursday video, and today we're talking about 90 Day Fiance The Single Life Season 4 Episode 6, starting with Debbie. After Debbie's first date a few episodes ago, you know, the indoor mini golfing one where she told the guy she was 57 instead of 67, and then told him her past relationship was with a 24-year-old guy from Morocco and just way too much information on a first date. Yeah, so shocker, he didn't call back.
Russ called me, and then he started to throw it up in my face about Osama and his age.
But that might have been for the better, because after that, Debbie went back to the online dating where she met this goofball of a guy named Ruben the Cuban.
Ruben the Cuban, Ruben the Cuban, Ruben the Cuban, Ruben the Cuban, Ruben the Cuban.
Is that what you're gonna say to him?
And after talking on the phone a few times, it's finally time for Debbie to make the trip over to Miami and meet Mr. Ruben the Cuban in person.
I'm going to Miami to meet my potential Mr. Somebody.
Ruben the Cuban.
Oh, and Debbie's cop son, Julian, is also coming to make sure he's not another Osama.
My son, Julian, is almost forcing his way onto this trip.
And you know, real quick about Julian, I thought he was going to be the stereotypical overprotective friend that's just kind of a wet blanket and annoying. Like, you know, they might use you, you know, you gotta look after for yourself. Maybe you don't know if they go after the green card. And he's a cop, so you expect him to be overly by the books and annoying about it. And he is a total narc, but I think he has a good, very dry sense of humor about it. You know, Debbie has this very childlike, oh, you know, everything is beautiful and go with the flow. And then Julian is over here like, watch out, mom. You know, you gotta make sure you check their ID. It's kind of funny to watch. And Julian, I think he's kind of a smartass. I think he's playing into it, so it is kind of funny to watch their dynamic.
I'm to Miami. I'd like to report some suspicious activity.
Don't say that.
So Debbie gets all ready. She's dressed to the nines, at least for her standard, very colorful and flowing, and she's expecting to be the more extra of the two of them and to date someone that's slightly more tame than she is. But then she goes to meet Mr. Ruben the Cuban, and he's wearing that. He's got flowers and balloons, and he's literally wearing a painting. And there's just something so wholesome about watching very eclectic, colorful Debbie with this equally eclectic and colorful Ruben the Cuban character. It's pretty cute. They're talking a bit, things seem very natural between them. They go out to a club where the producers keep putting in B-roll of a bunch of people dancing on the dance floor. But whenever they cut to Debbie and Ruben, no one else is there, so I don't know what's going on with that. And things between them seem honestly really nice. They're both saying in the one-on-ones that given their age and their values, they're looking for something more long-term, you know? They're not looking for something hot and quick, and they don't want to take things too fast. They both care about setting the right foundation and getting to know each other, and they really do seem compatible.
I like it. I really do.
And after a successful first date, the two of them agree that they will hang out again tomorrow, where Ruben will show her around Miami and they'll hit the town. I think it's pretty rare on the show that the people on The Single Life actually meet another person that's A, they're compatible with it all, but B, that would be entertaining enough to keep showing them on screen. Of course, when things go poorly and it's really dramatic and a terrible fit, it's entertaining, but I actually think Debbie and Ruben over here might be the rare example that I think I would watch anything with the two of them in it. It's early to tell, so I'm not making any predictions about the two of them long-term compatibility-wise, but they do seem good for each other, and they're both pretty interesting to watch. Up next, we have Veronica and Jamal, and Tim, and Louisa. Even though Jamal and Tim had a huge fight last night over dinner, Veronica is committed to working on Tim and Jamal's relationship.
There's gonna be birthdays and graduations and Christmas and things like that where I'm gonna want both my partner and Chloe's father to be there.
And oddly enough, it looks like Jamal and Tim are on the same page with that too, and would like to sorta try again.
I shouldn't have gotten in his face. That's not me, it's not my character.
I think Veronica would appreciate me talking to him. So for that, I will try.
And what better way to work on a relationship than through a good old game of pickleball?
Ooh.
Good job, T.
And they're playing, and it's neck and neck until Tim takes a literal dive.
Oh my God. No.
Anyway, enough of this dumb team building stuff. The girls leave, and now it's time for the two boys to talk about what happened last night and see if the two of them can apologize, work it out, and put water under a bridge. Jamal starts off by acknowledging that he did lose his cool last night and apologizes for doing so.
Definitely lost my temper, so I apologize for getting in your face.
He says he shouldn't have done that, he shouldn't have brought up Chloe. His explanation is that there's just been a lot of small things causing him to slowly simmer over time and culminated in a boiling over last night where he lost his cool.
Don't want to blame the alcohol, but definitely didn't help.
And you know what? That's good. He acknowledged he crossed a line and that he lost his cool. And to Tim's credit, it seems like he tries to explain some of why he might seem like such a negative Nancy towards Jamal by saying that because him and Veronica have been so close for so long, that's meant that whenever Veronica has gotten really hurt, it's been Tim's responsibility to help pick up the pieces and support her. So not only does Tim care as a friend and doesn't want to see Veronica hurt, he's also probably seen Veronica get hurt a bunch of times and might know some of the early red flags. And whenever she does get hurt, he's very intimately aware of all the pain and he has to help deal with it. And because of all that, it's likely led him to be a little more overprotective than he really should be.
Veronica's gotten her heart broken or whatever, and I think I am a little overprotective just because of that.
And that's also a good job by Tim, because it sounds like he's trying to address the chief complaints that Jamal has about Tim. That Tim seems to talk mad shit and throw shade on their relationship all the time. So the two of them talked it out, Jamal apologized, Tim acknowledged his wrongdoing, but then Tim tries to apologize to Jamal and say, hey, yeah, so sorry if this hurt you, I didn't mean it. But you know how Tim kind of has this RBF where he's just like, it's like everything all the time. Well, he kept that same kind of dismissive body language when he apologized, and he looks like he's just being possessed the whole time.
And I apologize, like, if I hurt your feelings, and like I said, I feel bad about last night. If you ever have a question or concern, feel free to ask,
Appreciate it.
I think by reading Tim's tone of voice, I think he really is trying to be genuine and really apologize. But as we all know, apologizing can be really hard and vulnerable, and one way that people will often try to make it easier for themselves to apologize is to kind of give that dismissive kind of, so I'm sorry, if you felt that way, and I didn't mean to make you feel bad, and I didn't mean to, and I'm just really, really sorry. I feel like that tends to be more of a childish way of apologizing. I'm thinking of when two kids on the playground get into a little tussle and the teacher has to say, okay, Billy, you now have to apologize to Susie. So you say, I'm sorry. And then Billy is like holding her hand like, I'm sorry, Susie. For what, Billy? For pulling your hair. So although the two of them did apologize, and I have gone pretty hard on Jamal in the past, I gotta say, if I was in Jamal's position and I got an apology like that from Tim, I'd be glad he apologized, but I wouldn't really feel convinced that Tim was really being the bigger person. Again, I think Tim probably did mean it very genuinely, but he just gotta watch his attitude and his body language when he talks about stuff. Because even if he doesn't mean to, he definitely comes off more like a disapproving, wet blanket, stick in the mud kind of guy than maybe he means to. Also, I'm not the fashion police, but did Tim get his watch at Toys R Us? But they made up, they shook hands, and later on in the episode, the four of them, the three of them, plus Tim's new partner, Louisa, go out to dinner, where, in my opinion, Veronica starts making everything weird. First, Jamal asks Tim and Louisa, how's the dating going?
How's the dating going?
To which Tim, completely in character, doesn't have any real answer. And when asked if they're actually in a relationship at all, Tim just kind of goes, I don't know.
So, we're like testing the waters and seeing how things are going.
And Louisa, being pretty funny, looks at Tim and is like, oh yeah, I guess we don't know. So yeah, I guess we're just friends, right, Tim? Just friends.
So I guess that we are like friends.
Y'all are just friends?
And when Veronica hears this, she jumps in to assure Louisa, like, hey, I understand, I get it. Tim is like that. He was like that with me too. And then makes an awkward comparison between Tim and Jamal.
Not only was he a good listener, but he would ask a lot like you when we first met.
He loves to compare us a lot.
He do the same.
Just a little piece of advice for anyone watching. Yeah, don't compare your current partner to your ex. Unless you're really trying to shit talk your ex and talk about how much better your current partner is, but even then, just don't. And Veronica says again to Louisa that she understands, this dynamic between her and Tim, it's a little weird.
All of this is super weird. Like, I get that.
It is weird.
And then starts speaking in Spanish to Louisa so that only the two of them can communicate, and then tells Louisa if she's real uncomfortable and has problems, then she can talk to Veronica.
Si tú te sientes incómoda, tú me dejas saber, ni le tienes que decir a él. Tú me dices, oye.
I guess that she's just trying to be nice and supportive. Maybe she's just motherly with a lot of the people around her and just say, come to me, I want to help. But speaking in another language like that, and the word choice she used, at least in this translation, I don't know if there's a better translation, but to say, if you're uncomfortable, then you tell me, you don't have to tell him, you tell me, I got your back, we'll do this together. It just kind of sounds like she's saying blink twice if you're being kidnapped. I mean, can you imagine being Tim and rewatching this episode, being like, Veronica, what the hell? In front of me, you're telling my partner that if she's got any problems, like if she's too scared to talk to me and talk to her, like, who do you think I am? What kind of problems do you think she has? Like, why would you do that? And the whole time Jamal is saying, hey, it'd be great if you spoke a language that all of us could understand. Why are you doing this at the dinner table?
It's crazy how amazing it would be if we could all be in on this before we leave.
It's a girl-to-girl situation.
And Tim is just sitting there, probably because he's already seen it before, and it's just, whatever, do your thing. The whole thing was just very weird, and it seems like Veronica and Tim both talk a lot, excessively, that they know their dynamic is weird and that it's going to be weird for everybody, but trust us, it's okay.
She's trying to assure you it's not going to be weird, but it is going to be weird.
It is weird.
I get that from Veronica's perspective. He's my best friend. He's the father to my child. He's going to be in my life no matter what. Maybe a partner or a new boyfriend might come and go, but Tim's going to be here, so I have to keep that relationship a priority. And I get that. It is a unique dynamic, but it does feel like there still could be some more compromise on Veronica and Tim's part. I don't think anyone is asking the two of them to not be friends or not be a big part of each other's lives anymore, but it does seem like there may be some kind of lack of boundaries that at the very least can make both of their own intimate romantic relationships more functional. What I'm saying is, yeah, Tim and Veronica, you guys are close, you're gonna be good friends, you're gonna see each other all the time with the kid and all that, okay, I get it. But if every one of Veronica's partners says, this is a little too weird, I don't think you guys have boundaries, and if every one of Tim's partners says the same thing, I don't know. I think you could do a little bit more there to help everyone feel more comfortable. I don't know what that would be or look like exactly. That's for all of them to figure that out. But I wonder if Tim and Veronica are always going into their own new relationships with this idea that we are what we are, it's not going to change, and everyone else just has to learn to deal with it. And I don't know if that mentality is really that conducive to healthy relationships with the two of them and other people. And lastly, we have Josh. Hey everyone, Editor James here. So his name is John, not Josh, and I'm gonna get that wrong for the entire rest of the video, so my bad. I haven't talked about Josh yet on this channel, but I'm assuming most of you have either watched the show directly or have watched someone else's recap at some point. And I don't need to intro that he's the brother to Patrick and Thais, or go over how completely uncomfortable and excessive his last scenes were with all the toys in the bedroom. But I will say that this is Josh's last day in San Antonio with his partner and is trying to determine how compatible they are and whether they want to keep the relationship going and take it to the next level. He goes to meet his partner, Megan, and Megan's daughter at a park where they're going to go bike riding together. It goes pretty well. He was apparently supposed to install training wheels on the bike, but then they cut to the end of the scene where they're holding her hands and there was no training wheels on the bike. So I don't know if Josh couldn't figure out how to put training wheels on the bike or what's going on with that. But the central theme with Josh this episode and the whole season is that here's a guy who's a chronic bachelor. He's bad at relationships because he's in so few of them because he's too busy bagging all the ladies.
I was just curious, you guys have deodorant? Oh, you do? Can I have one sent to me, please?
He's a guy's guy, all right? I don't need to worry about that sort of thing. I'm gonna be on someone's couch and I'm gonna do me. You know what I mean? Yes, that's the best accent I could muster. Okay, sorry. So you take this guy who's set up to be the guy who's not very good with his emotions or intimacy or relationships.
I mean, I got no complaints in the sex department, so that's a plus.
Except now he's flying over to San Antonio to be with a person that he's seen twice in person who has a kid and is looking for something more serious. So we're gonna see this professional bachelor guy come to the reality of, is it time to settle down and be a man and a father and all that?
Well, I just want to make sure I can be a good stepfather, because that's what I'd be signing up for.
The meeting with the kids seemed to go all right, and that's a good first sign. But not only does Josh have to confront the idea of finally settling down and living a new kind of life, but he also has to manage the fact that his partner is a single mother, and a mother to a child on the spectrum. The episode with them ends on a good note where the two of them are having a good moment and finally says goodbye to him as he's going back to Vegas. And the two of them agree that Megan will fly up to Vegas and spend presumably the rest of the season meeting his family there and seeing what's going on in Vegas. And in all honesty, I gotta say, I'm pretty excited to see where Josh's scenes are gonna go from here. Because casting wise, you got the guy who's least comfortable with an intimate, close, settling down kind of relationship. And he's paired up with someone who doesn't just want a normal relationship and commitment, but is also a single mother with a child that's going to require a lot more time and attention from him. So you have Mr. No Responsibilities all the way over here, and then you have a situation that's going to require an unusually high amount of responsibility and commitment. So not only can we expect them to clash about that sometimes, but I am also quite interested to see how Josh is going to handle and make compromises. Does he have to go through his entire mental evolution to shift all the way from Mr. Couch Surfing Deadbeats all the way over to World's Best Dad? Is he going to say he's made that big evolution, but really he's still kind of over here and just ends up being shitty at it? Or is he going to use all those relationship skills and try to communicate some kind of boundaries or compromise, maybe we'll start kind of here, but then over time we'll work towards that? I don't really know. You know, he plays this character like he's such a super bachelor, but I don't know how much of that is actually true. Yeah, he appears that way, but he clearly plays a lot of things up for the camera. You know, he's definitely the class clown kind of character. So it could be that he is a little bit like that, but because he's afraid of the commitments or afraid of the responsibility, could just be playing it up a lot, maybe for the cameras, maybe for a defense mechanism. You know, how much of this goofy Boston guy is the real him, and how much of that is him just being kind of scared and reverting back to being Mr. Jokester guy, you know? I have no emotions, don't worry about me. I don't really know. I don't know what the real Josh is, so I'm hoping we'll get to see him, learn more about him. That's all I got for today's video. Let me know what you thought about these couples in the comments down below. And until next time, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed my content, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the join button, ring the bell for notifications, and every comment helps the algorithm. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.